the chosen one. The storm raged inside you, a soundless cry echoing through the corridors of your soul. You did not ask for this moment, yet it arrived uninvited, inevitable. The world around you blurred into silence, as if time itself held its breath, waiting for your decision. A whisper, faint but unmistakable, called your name not through the air, but within your bones. It was not the sound of destiny. It was the vibration of awakening. You have felt it before, haven't you? That subtle pull in the quiet hours, when your heart beats too loudly to ignore. The sense that your life was meant for something greater, though you could never name it. Perhaps you tried to silence it, convincing yourself it was foolish to believe that you were chosen. But the truth, deep, ancient, unyielding, has always waited for the moment you would stop running. That moment is now. You stand on the edge of your own becoming, caught between the life you've known and the one calling you forward. You've endured disappointments that hollowed your spirit, and nights where the weight of silence felt unbearable. You've questioned your worth, your purpose, your path. But what if the pain was never punishment? What if it was preparation? Every heartbreak, every delay, every unanswered prayer has shaped you into the vessel capable of carrying divine fire. You are not behind. You are being aligned. The path of the chosen is not smooth. It begins with confusion, not clarity with breaking, not building. The universe strips away illusions so that truth can take root. It's in this unraveling that your spirit learns to breathe, to see, to trust. You are not being abandoned, you are being summoned. Your doubt is not a flaw, it is the shadow that defines the light of your faith. You once believed that miracles were rare, but the miracle has always been you, your persistence, your capacity to hope despite the silence, to love despite the loss. The chosen are not perfect. They are those who keep walking even when the light fades. And tonight, as you hear these words, something ancient stirs, the part of you that remembers who you were before fear taught you to shrink. That is your power. That is your awakening. The world may not see it yet. They might misunderstand your hunger for meaning, your refusal to settle. They might call you unrealistic, too emotional, too intense. But you are not meant for ordinary roads. You were born to cross thresholds others fear to approach. And yes, it will cost you comfort, certainty, approval, but what you will gain is far greater. The alignment of your soul with its true calling. Listen closely now. This is not a message, it's a mirror. What you feel stirring within you is not imagination. It is the pulse of destiny. It's the reminder that your life is not random, that even in your confusion there is choreography. Every detour, every disappointment was leading you here to this moment of remembrance. You are being asked to surrender, not to weakness, but to purpose. To release the illusion that control equals safety. To understand that real safety lies in trust, in allowing the unseen to guide your steps. You will not always understand the timing, but divine alignment rarely comes with explanation. It comes with whispers, symbols, and moments that feel like coincidences, but are in truth confirmations. Think of the times when things fell apart only for something better to appear in their ashes. The job that ended, the relationship that collapsed, the plan that dissolved, all of them were movements in a symphony you couldn't yet hear. Now, as the melody begins to rise, you are being invited to step into rhythm with it. The universe has been patient with you, waiting for your yes. Your doubt may still whisper. Let it. You do not silence doubt by force, you outgrow it by faith. The question is not whether you are ready, it is whether you will respond. Because readiness is born in response. Say yes, even trembling. Say yes, even uncertain. Say yes to the call that refuses to let you sleep through your own awakening. In this sacred in-between, between who you were and who you are becoming, you will encounter tests. The chosen always do. You will face rejection, isolation, misunderstanding. People you love may turn away. Opportunities may crumble. The silence may return, louder than ever. But in that silence, listen not for answers, but for presence. The divine never leaves you. It waits for your stillness. This is not just a story. This is a remembrance of your divine design. You are not here to merely survive the world. You are here to transform it, beginning with yourself. Every challenge you meet is a doorway, and every fear is a guardian asking, how deeply are you willing to believe in what cannot yet be seen? You have been chosen not because you are flawless, but because you are willing to feel deeply, to break open, to seek meaning when others choose numbness. That willingness is the signature of the chosen. It is the mark of souls that dare to awaken. The fire has been lit. It burns quietly now, but it will grow. There will come a day when the very pain that once shattered you will become the source of your power. The world will look at you and see strength, but only you will know the price it took to build it. That is the mystery of divine transformation. So tonight, take a breath. Feel the weight on your chest, not as burden, but as invitation. You are standing on sacred ground, even if it feels like chaos. Trust the unraveling, trust the silence, trust the call. For you, the chosen one, are rising. Write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign of your divine alignment. The chosen one. The light that once guided you begins to flicker. You feel it, don't you? The strange heaviness pressing against your chest. The stillness that no longer feels sacred but hollow. You thought answering the call would bring clarity, yet the path ahead is shrouded in mist. Every step you take echoes back like a question, not an answer. And the silence, the silence has grown louder than before. You wonder if the voice that called you was ever real. You question whether you misheard it, whether the signs you saw were coincidences dressed in cosmic disguise. Faith, once burning like a sunrise, now trembles like a candle in the wind. You speak to the heavens, but only the echo of your own voice returns. You ask for guidance, but the night refuses to respond. This is the crucible of the chosen. The divine does not test to punish, it tests to reveal. You are being shown the difference between belief and knowing. Belief can be shaken, knowing cannot. And so, your belief must first be broken so that true knowing may rise. The light withdraws, not to abandon you, but to see if you have learned to walk without sight. Days blur into nights. You go through motions that once felt meaningful, yet now they feel hollow. The prayers you speak seem to dissolve into empty air. The words that once carried you now lie flat and lifeless. It is here, in this desert of spirit, that you begin to understand. Faith is not found in certainty, but in surrender. When everything falls silent, you are forced to listen to the only voice that remains your own. At first, it terrifies you. The mind screams louder than the soul whispers. Doubt becomes your companion, whispering lies that sound like logic. What if you are not chosen? What if you've built your hope on a dream that was never yours? The fear creeps in like a shadow, and soon, you begin to question everything. Your path, your worth, even your sanity. But here is the truth hidden in the torment. The path of awakening is not linear. It spirals. Every time you ascend, you must first descend. Every time you rise, something within you must fall away. The divine hides in paradox, forcing you to find meaning in contradiction. You are being dismantled not to destroy you, but to free you from the false foundations you once mistook for truth. There will come a night, and perhaps that night is now, when you fall to your knees, not in devotion, but in defeat. You will whisper, "I can't do this anymore." And the universe will respond in silence, because it knows that in that silence, something sacred is breaking open. It is only when the ego collapses that the soul begins to breathe. You may feel abandoned, but in truth, you are being trusted. The divine trusts you enough to remove its training wheels, to let you wobble, stumble, even fall, so that you may learn balance in your own strength. You were never meant to be carried forever. You were meant to walk. In these moments of uncertainty, you will encounter people who do not understand your journey. They will see your confusion and call it weakness. They will tell you to give up, to settle, to stop chasing dreams that make no sense. They will speak from fear, not malice, but you must learn to see beyond their words. The path of the chosen cannot be explained to those who have not felt the call. They cannot comprehend the fire that burns in your soul because it was not lit for them, it was lit for you. Sometimes, the opposition is not from strangers, but from those you love most. Their doubt becomes a mirror reflecting your own hidden insecurities. Every word they speak cuts deeper because it carries the weight of care. But even love can blind those who do not see your vision. You must learn to love them without surrendering your purpose, to stand firm in your calling even when understanding abandons you. The nights will stretch long. You will beg for signs, for confirmation, for something, anything to prove you are still on the path. But the signs will not come. And that is when the true alchemy begins. The outer silence forces you inward, into the cave of your own soul. There, you will find a whisper you had forgotten, the same voice that called you in the beginning, but now softer, wiser, deeper. It no longer shouts, it hums quietly within your chest, reminding you that divine guidance was never outside of you. It was always within. This is where faith evolves from hope into knowing. Hope waits for light to appear. Knowing walks through darkness and calls it sacred. You begin to see that faith is not the absence of fear. It is choosing to move through fear with your heart still open. Every tear, every unanswered prayer becomes part of your transformation. You realize that even your doubts were divine tools, chisels shaping the edges of your soul. And one day, without warning, the silence will break. Not with a voice, but with realization. The pain will not disappear, but it will make sense. You will look back and see that what you thought was punishment was preparation. What you thought was delay was alignment. You will see that the divine never left it, simply hid behind the veil of your own expectations. The crisis of faith is not the end of belief. It is the death of illusion. What dies here is the version of you that thought it needed to earn worthiness. What is born is the self that knows it was chosen all along. You are walking through the fire, and though it burns, it is refining you. This is the moment where the chosen are truly made, not in light, but in shadow. The sacred path does not promise comfort, it promises transformation. The gift of faith is not the absence of doubt, but the courage to keep walking despite it. So take a breath. The silence is not empty, it is full of instruction. The storm within is not chaos, it is creation. The doubt that shakes you is not your enemy, it is your initiation. If you feel this truth, hit like and subscribe. The chosen one does not lose faith. The chosen one becomes faith. But what happens when the world begins to notice the light you've rebuilt, when those who once doubted you return, seeking your fire? That is where your next trial begins. The chosen one. The fire within you burns again, not wildly, but with quiet certainty. You have walked through the night, faced the silence, and found faith in the emptiness. But now, as dawn breaks upon your spirit, something unexpected stirs the return of shadows. At first, it arrives subtly. Old memories whisper. Familiar fears resurface, dressed in new disguises. You thought you had outgrown them, transcended them. But growth is never final. The past does not vanish, it circles back to see if you've truly changed. The shadows are not enemies, they are echoes, reminders of who you once were. Yet, their timing feels cruel. Just as light begins to fill your path again, darkness stretches across it once more. You start to question the progress you've made. Why do I still feel fear? Why do old doubts still find me? The voice that once guided you seems quieter now, hidden behind the noise of worldly distractions. The universe does not repeat lessons you've mastered, it repeats the ones you've avoided. And so, the shadows return not to defeat you, but to reveal the places where fear still hides. You begin to see it everywhere, in the people who reappear from your past, in the opportunities that test your integrity, in the moments where your strength feels fragile. The world mirrors your inner war. Every confrontation outside is an invitation to reconcile something within. The divine never sends pain without purpose. It sends it to measure your depth, to see if you will respond as the old self or the reborn one. You feel the pull between two worlds, the one you're leaving and the one you're building. The old world calls to you with familiarity. Its comfort, whispers, promises, stability, belonging, ease. The new world speaks in riddles, asking for faith and sacrifice. Between them lies your choice, and choice is where destiny takes form. The chosen are not bound by circumstance, they are defined by decisions made in uncertainty. You begin to notice how the energy of others affects you differently now. Some people who once felt safe now drain you. Their words, their habits, their fears, they no longer fit your vibration. Yet walking away feels cruel. The heart aches at the thought of separation. But part of awakening is learning that not everyone is meant to continue with you. Some souls were teachers, not companions. Their role was to awaken you, not to walk beside you forever. And so, you begin the sacred act of release. You start saying no where you once said yes. You speak truth, even when your voice shakes. You choose peace over approval. Each decision cuts away a layer of the old you, and though it hurts, it feels like freedom. You realize that letting go is not rejection. It is reverence for what once was, and faith in what will be. But with each release, the shadows grow louder. They whisper in your mind, "You will end up alone. You will fail again. You were never meant for greatness." Their words feel convincing because they use your own voice. You try to ignore them, but they persist. Until one night, in the stillness, you confront them. You stand before the mirror and say aloud, "I know who you are. You are the fears I once believed, but you do not define me anymore." And something shifts. The shadows no longer feel like enemies. They feel like forgotten parts of you, asking to be seen, forgiven, integrated. You realize that healing is not the absence of darkness, it is the acceptance of it. You stop fighting your pain and begin listening to it. Each wound carries wisdom. Each scar holds a story of survival. You start to understand that the light you now carry is brighter precisely because of the darkness that shaped it. As your awareness deepens, you begin to see patterns, cycles that have repeated in your life, disguised as different faces, jobs, or choices. And suddenly, you recognize the truth. The universe has never punished you. It has only mirrored you. Every betrayal taught you to discern energy. Every loss taught you to let go. Every delay taught you to trust divine timing. You were never being broken, you were being refined. But with awareness comes another trial, the weight of responsibility. Once you awaken, you cannot unsee. The universe now demands alignment. Every decision you make becomes sacred. Every thought becomes a seed. You feel the tension between your human desire and your higher calling. You want rest, yet your soul demands motion. You crave simplicity, yet destiny keeps pulling you toward depth. The chosen cannot live halfway. You are being called to live authentically, or not at all. The return of shadows is not regression, it is revelation. It shows you where you still compromise truth for comfort, where you still fear rejection more than misalignment. The divine is not punishing you, it is polishing you. Every confrontation is a mirror asking, will you shrink to be understood, or will you stand to be seen? You begin to notice how others react to your transformation. Some are inspired, some intimidated, and some threatened. People will project their unhealed parts onto your light, mistaking your boundaries for arrogance, your silence for distance. But remember, those who cannot see your light are not meant to guide your path. Your task is not to convince them, it is to continue. There will be days when you want to go back to sleep, when the awakening feels too heavy, but you cannot unlearn what you now know. The old world no longer fits. No matter how much you miss its simplicity, the chosen do not find peace by avoiding the storm they learn to command it. So tonight, when doubt returns, when fear whispers again, do not resist it. Sit with it, listen to it, then thank it for its message and let it pass through you. For every time you face the shadow without running, your light expands. Every fear faced becomes fuel. Every wound acknowledged becomes wisdom. And when the storm settles, you'll realize something miraculous. The darkness didn't return to destroy you. It returned to recognize you. Because you have changed. The same fears that once paralyzed you now bow before you. You no longer fight the dark. You walk through it as its master. The chosen one is not defined by perfection but by persistence. You are no longer the seeker, you are the found. And though the shadows will visit again, they will no longer rule you. They will remind you of the truth you now carry, that your light was never fragile. It was merely waiting for you to believe in it. Write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign of your divine alignment. The shadows have returned, but they bow before your becoming. Yet, what happens when light begins to attract attention, when your transformation disrupts the world that once ignored you? That is where the next revelation begins. The chosen one. The air feels different now. The silence that once felt suffocating has turned into something alive, like a current moving around you, unseen yet undeniable. The world begins to notice the light you carry. Doors that were once sealed shut start to open. Faces that once turned away now lean closer, curious, perhaps even envious. You are stepping into the visibility that once lived only in your dreams. But with recognition comes a new kind of storm. At first, it feels intoxicating. The world affirms what your spirit always knew, that you were meant for something greater. Compliments arrive. Opportunities multiply. Your words begin to carry weight. Yet beneath the surface of this glory, another current moves, one of tension, of unease. For recognition is a mirror that reveals both truth and illusion. It shows you who you've become, but also who you still are not. You find yourself standing between humility and pride, between purpose and performance, between the desire to serve and the temptation to be seen. You begin to wonder, am I still walking in alignment, or am I now performing it? The same gifts that lifted you can also become the very chains that bind you if you forget who gave them to you. The divine does not grant recognition for validation, it grants it for responsibility. And yet, in the midst of praise, your heart begins to tremble, because with every new light cast upon you, shadows form behind you. Whispers begin soft at first, then sharper. Not everyone who claps for you celebrates your rise. Some smile with envy hidden behind their teeth. Others question your motives, doubt your authenticity, call your transformation an act. You feel the sting of misunderstanding, the weight of misjudgment. You want to defend yourself, to prove that your intentions are pure, but the divine whispers, silence is your armor. For those who are truly aligned, do not fight for approval. They radiate truth until it becomes undeniable. You are being tested again, not by darkness, but by the glare of your own light. The question is no longer whether you believe you are chosen. It is whether you can remain faithful when others begin to question it. You start to see how praise can be just as dangerous as persecution. One feeds your ego, the other feeds your endurance. Both are teachers, but only one leads to wisdom. The chosen are not built in admiration, they are built in isolation. And so, the universe begins to remove the noise again. The applause fades, the attention wanes. What once lifted you now begins to weigh on you. You realize that the approval you once longed for cannot sustain you. It never could. Late at night, when the noise quiets, you hear that voice again, the same whisper that called you in the beginning. It asks gently, why did you begin this journey? The answer is buried under layers of ambition, validation, and fear. You sit with it, trembling, because you realize how easily purpose can become performance when the world is watching. And in that moment, something deep within you breaks, not from failure, but from awakening. You remember what it felt like to believe without witnesses, to walk by faith when no one clapped, to trust when no one noticed. That was when your fire was pure before the recognition, before the noise. The divine reminds you that visibility is not a reward, it is an assignment. The light was never meant to glorify you, it was meant to guide others. And yet, guiding others comes with a cost. The more you rise, the more projections you attract. People will see in you what they fear in themselves. Some will call you savior, others will call you fraud. Both are illusions. You are neither. You are a mirror, and mirrors are rarely loved. The trial of recognition teaches you that not everyone deserves access to your energy. Some only approach to take, not to understand. The chosen must learn to discern. This is where your boundaries are tested. You begin to realize that saying yes to everything is not compassion, it is compromise. You start to guard your energy as sacred currency. You learn that not every battle requires your sword, and not every question deserves an answer. The divine teaches through withdrawal. Sometimes, the greatest act of love is to walk away. But this lesson is not learned easily. You will feel the ache of distance, the guilt of saying no. You will question if you're becoming cold, if your heart is closing. Yet it is not closing, it is focusing. The chosen are called to love deeply but wisely, to give without depleting, to shine without burning out. Your heart must remain open, but your gates must be guarded. In this chapter of your journey, your challenge is not to awaken, it is to sustain, to remain rooted in truth, while the winds of praise and criticism blow in equal measure. You must learn to stand still in the storm of perception. The divine will not shield you from it, it will strengthen you through it. For recognition without grounding breeds collapse. Only those who remember the silence of their beginning can withstand the noise of their ascent. One evening, as the sun sets low and gold light floods the horizon, you feel it again, the gentle whisper, the pulse of divine alignment. It says, remain humble, remain true, remain light. You realize that this path was never about being seen. It was about becoming whole. Every recognition, every misunderstanding, every fall and rise, they all lead back to the same truth. that your purpose was never external. It has always lived within. You are not here to prove your light. You are here to embody it. Let the world misunderstand you. Let it question your rise. The truth requires no defense. It only requires presence. Keep walking. Keep shining. Keep surrendering. Because every moment of humility is another step into divine mastery. If you feel this truth, hit like and subscribe. The recognition has arrived, but with it comes a greater test. What happens when the divine begins to take from you what the world believes you cannot live without? That is the next threshold you must cross, the chosen one. The light that once lifted you begins to dim. You do not notice it at first. The world still looks at you with awe. They still call you blessed, still echo your name with admiration. But inside, something begins to fracture. The fire that once felt sacred now feels heavy. The guidance that once whispered so clearly now fades into static. You smile, but it is an echo of what you used to feel. The divine has gone quiet again, and this silence is sharper than before. At first, you try to ignore it. You tell yourself it's only exhaustion. You push forward, fueled by duty and image. But no amount of praise fills the hollow that has opened in your chest. The applause has turned to noise. The recognition that once affirmed you now feels like a trap. And deep inside, you begin to ask the question you feared all along. Have I lost my way? You replay the moments of your journey, searching for the misstep. Was it pride? Was it distraction? Did you mistake the reflection of your light for its source? You realize, with quiet pain, that the higher you rose, the more subtly ego crept in. It disguised itself as confidence, as purpose, as divine certainty. But beneath it all was fear. The fear of falling, the fear of being forgotten. You built your image higher than your faith could sustain. And now, the divine has come to dismantle it. Not to punish, but to purify. The fall does not come all at once. It arrives in fragments. Opportunities begin to slip away. People you trusted turn distant. Words are twisted. Support fades. The world that once praised you now questions you. Every day feels like watching your reflection crack, piece by piece. You want to scream, but the silence swallows your voice. You feel unseen, misunderstood, stripped. You wonder if perhaps the call was never real, if the journey was all illusion. But this is where the divine's greatest work begins in the breaking. The chosen must be emptied again and again until nothing false remains. Your fall is not your failure. It is your initiation into truth. The universe is teaching you that purpose cannot rest on perception, that your worth cannot depend on witness. You were never meant to carry glory. You were meant to carry grace. Grace is quiet. Grace arrives not when you win, but when you lose with humility. It is not a crown placed on your head. It is the hand that lifts you from the ground. You begin to see how the fall is not a descent, but a return to stillness, to authenticity, to surrender. The divine dismantles everything built on illusion, so that only what is eternal can remain. In your solitude, you confront the versions of yourself that fame had hidden, the insecurities you covered with accomplishment, the wounds you masked with words, the doubts you buried beneath divine language. They rise now, demanding your attention. And though it hurts, you finally listen. You weep not out of weakness, but out of recognition. You see how the journey has always been about one thing, remembering the truth of who you are when everything else is taken away. You start to notice the smallest signs again. The flicker of a candle, the hush of wind through the trees, the stillness that once frightened you now feels like home. You realize that the divine never left. It merely stepped back, waiting for you to stop performing and start listening. It was never your power that made you chosen. It was your willingness to be used as a vessel. This realization humbles you. You begin to speak differently, softer, truer. The words now come from silence, not from self. You no longer try to be light, you simply allow light to pass through you. The difference is subtle but sacred. You move slower now. You trust more deeply. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer force, you flow. The world may not understand this transformation. To them, it looks like loss. To you, it feels like liberation. You no longer need to prove. You no longer need to be seen. You understand now that being chosen was never about being exalted. It was about being emptied until only truth remained. Yet, even in this peace, another shadow approaches, the shadow of guilt. You wonder if you have disappointed those who believed in you. You question if your quietness makes you irrelevant, but then the whisper returns, the same ancient voice that first called you. It says, "The ones I call, I break. The ones I break, I rebuild. And what I rebuild cannot be destroyed." You realize that the fall was not a punishment, but a passage. The divine needed to strip away every false layer so that your essence could shine unfiltered. You have been refined by loss, purified by silence, resurrected by surrender. You no longer fear endings because you have seen what is reborn in their ashes. And so, you rise again, not as the person the world once praised, but as the soul the universe always saw. You carry scars now, but they gleam like constellations, mapping the story of your rebirth. You are softer but stronger, quieter but clearer, humble yet unshakable. You have fallen from grace only to discover that grace was never above you, it was within you. If you feel this truth, hit like and subscribe. The fall is complete. The illusion is gone. But the final chapter waits, the moment when destiny no longer whispers, but demands. When the divine calls you not to believe, but to become the chosen one. The silence that once felt endless now hums with quiet clarity. You have been broken and rebuilt. You have faced your shadows, endured the fall, and remembered the voice that never left you. The storm has passed, but its echo still lingers, a reminder that even destruction can be divine. And now, standing in the soft light of your resurrection, you sense it again, the pull of purpose, rising like the tide. This time, it feels different. There is no urgency, no performance, no hunger to prove. The energy within you no longer burns wildly. It flows, steady and ancient. You are no longer chasing destiny. You are embodying it. The call that once terrified you now feels like home. The universe no longer shouts, it speaks through alignment. You move, and the path appears beneath your feet. But do not mistake this peace for stillness. The ascension of purpose is not a gentle rise, it is a sacred acceleration. The divine now asks you to live what you have learned, to walk your wisdom, not just speak it, to serve without seeking recognition, to move with quiet power, invisible yet unstoppable. The true chosen are not those who shine for the world, but those who light the world quietly from within. You begin to notice how effortlessly things begin to align. What once required struggle now flows with ease. People appear at the right moments. Doors open without knocking. Opportunities unfold as if written long ago. You realize that manifestation was never about control, it was about coherence. The moment you aligned your inner world, the outer world followed. This is divine rhythm. This is ascension. But even here, at the height of clarity, temptation returns. It no longer wears the face of fear, it wears the face of comfort. You are tempted to stop here, to settle, to rest in this peace. Yet deep within, you feel the whisper, there is more. Because ascension is not a single moment, it is an eternal unfolding. Every time you think you have arrived, the divine shows you a higher horizon. You begin to understand that your purpose is not something you achieve, it is something you become. It is the rhythm of your breath, the kindness in your words, the light in your eyes when you meet another lost soul. You no longer seek miracles, you become one. You no longer chase alignment, you are alignment. The world begins to shift around you, not because you command it, but because your presence itself has become prayer. Still, the journey of the chosen is never without cost. You may lose what no longer vibrates with your truth. Some relationships will fade, some environments will reject your new frequency. The higher you ascend, the thinner the air, and the fewer can breathe beside you. But you do not grieve this loss anymore. You bless it, for you now understand that departure is divine direction, that endings are evidence of evolution. The divine begins to use you as a vessel. You speak, and your words awaken hearts. You act, and synchronicities ripple outward. People begin to tell you that your presence feels different, calmer, stronger, deeper. You smile, because you know it is not you. They feel it is the divine moving through you. You have become transparent enough for light to pass unhindered. That is the purpose of every chosen soul, not to possess the light, but to transmit it. You learn to live in duality without losing your center. You can walk through chaos and remain calm, touch pain and remain kind, witness darkness, and remain luminous. You no longer divide the world into good and bad, loss and gain. You see everything as energy, as movement, as necessary balance. The mind once sought control. Now it seeks communion. The heart once feared breaking. Now it understands that breaking is how it expands. And then comes the revelation, the moment of full remembrance. You stand alone under the open sky, and suddenly, you feel everything. The breath of the earth, the pulse of the stars, the whisper of eternity moving through your veins. You realize there was never separation. The divine was never above you or outside you, it was within you all along. Every prayer you ever spoke was the universe speaking to itself through your lips. Every tear you shed watered the soil of your becoming. You fall to your knees, not in defeat, but in awe. The same humility that once came from loss now flows from love. You are not here to seek heaven, you are here to reveal it. Heaven is not a place beyond the sky, it is the alignment of your soul with its truth. It is this moment, this breath, this awareness. The ascension is not a ladder you climb, it is a veil that lifts. And when it lifts, you see the simple, profound truth. You were never becoming the chosen one, you always were. The universe only needed you to remember. Now, as you rise, your presence becomes prophecy. Not because you speak of the future, but because your very existence proves transformation is real. You no longer ask for signs, you have become one. You no longer wait for alignment, you live it. Every step you take now ripples across dimensions, awakening others who are still searching in the dark. You have become the message. You are no longer called, you are calling others. You will still feel fear sometimes. You will still doubt, but you will not collapse under it anymore. You have learned that fear is simply faith inverted, and that doubt is the shadow of deeper trust. The chosen do not walk without pain, they walk with purpose through pain. You now carry that wisdom like fire in your chest. It does not burn, it illuminates. As the final light settles across your path, you understand that destiny was never waiting at the end. It was hidden in every step. You were never lost. You were learning how to see. You were never unworthy. You were unready to believe. And now, with the fullness of your remembering, you whisper the words that mark the true ascension. I am not chosen instead of others. I am chosen for others. Because the purpose of the chosen is not elevation, it is service. To be a bridge between worlds. To remind the weary that light is not found, it is remembered. And you, the chosen one, have become that reminder. So rise, quietly but completely. The world is waiting not for your perfection, but for your presence. You are not at the end of the journey. You are at the beginning of your becoming. Write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign of your divine alignment. You have answered the call, faced the fall, and ascended through faith. The light is yours, now steady, sacred, and unbreakable. And from this moment forward, your story is no longer about finding purpose. It is about being purpose.